Hi there. How's it going? Let's get into trouble. All right. Not everybody starts conversation that way, but those that know where I got that from will remember it. I'm sure. I hope anyway. My name's John Nelson, the plugin CEO of JKL Works and pluginbusiness.com and lots of other projects that are taking off that are really cool. I can't wait to share them with you here at some point in the future, but that's not right now because we need to talk about something that actually has kind of skewed the schedule a little bit because it has been on my mind a lot lately. As I too am prospecting for customers. I'm always on the lookout for customers. We have some unbeatable opportunities. Really, truly, we do. If you've been following this channel and my ramblings for a while, you know some of these to be the case. So before I share some of that with you, I want to get into a little bit about pitching and pitch timing. Now, what is that? Well, yes, there is something in Major League Baseball this year where they started a pitch timer, but that's not what I'm talking about. I actually wasn't quite sure how that was going to go, but I think it's okay. I think it's actually sped the game up a little bit, or at least made it interesting anyhow. So I don't know how you feel about that, but I'm certainly watching that as my Houston Astros try to do some good here again in the don't hate the rest of you, New York, Boston. I hear you. Don't hate Philadelphia. Anyway, but I digress. So it's not about that pitch timing, okay? This is about when to make an offer to somebody, when to have your elevator pitch ready to go, when they will be most receptive to said things. And so that's important, and it's something I really want to get into because I have come across some important thinking. It's not mine. I will give credit where it's due when the time comes. But also, I sit here with you as an overpitched person. I am prospected to death. Maybe you are too. And yes, I totally get it. You have to do that to generate sales. That's the only way this works, especially when we're all overpitched and over prospected. It's even harder to stand out. So let me give you some thinking that may help you to do it better and have better success. So we're going to talk about when to pitch and when not to pitch somebody, and when it's more important to build a relationship. And those may be different times than you think. So let's jump into this a little bit. We're going to talk about who to pitch to. If you have been working on your audience and you've been working on your avatar and your target audience, then this should be a good, easy thing for you. You should have this nailed by this point. At least I hope anyway. But this is going to factor into the next two topics. Knowing your audience is going to factor a lot as to when to pitch them. So we're going to talk about when to pitch somebody, when it's appropriate, when they're ready, how fast, and what you should say. And then we're going to talk about when not to pitch them. Okay. And there's three little rules there that everybody, I would hope, learns from, but nobody pays attention to me anyway. For those that do, please share it around with people. Okay. Because maybe this will help all of us. All right. So if we're talking about who to pitch to, know your audience. Who is your audience? If you've been doing your research, you should know the answer to this question. You should understand a lot about them. Maybe you've profiled them. Maybe you've gone so far as to develop an avatar for them that's kind of a sample fictitious person of what your audience should look like, what they might respond to. And you've gathered data from different places and different resources, or your own experience or the experience of others. That's perfectly legal. Do it. Because the more you can define them and understand that it's not everybody, it is a very dedicated subset of people who have a problem, and you want to position yourself, as we'll talk about, as the only one who can solve it, right? So who is your audience? What solution are they trying to get? So what are they trying to get solved here? What is it, or what's the solution you provide for them? I'm jumping the shark a little bit. You'll see in a minute. What solution are you providing them that you think they want? Okay, that's pretty straightforward, common business stuff, right? Okay. All right. So then the next one is this is important. Do they value a relationship, or do they value a solution, or do they value a relationship? Do they value a solution, or do they value a relationship more? Okay. I will tell you there are both out there. If I'm the type of person generally that, and others like me, many others like me, I talk to all the time, that they have a problem, they want a solution. They want two or three options to choose from, and then they want to make the best decision they can based on what's important to them. There are some people out there, and I ran across most of them selling transportation equipment, that value a relationship first. They will buy a lot from you, but they want to get to know you first. It's not just about, I mean, yes, it is about price for them, but it's also about what kind of, what kind of relationship are you building there. I find this tends to be the case, especially for local people. They all value relationships. Okay, so this is something that can be important, and knowing your audience is going to help determine this. But this will also help you stay out of trouble if you get it right. If you realize that they want a solution first, then building a relationship right off the bat isn't going to help you. It's going to get you, moved away. But if you realize that, and you give them what they want, then they'll, on the back end, build the other thing they don't have. If they want the relationship, great. Build the relationship a little bit, then give them the solution, because then you'll have established rapport. If they want the solution, do that first, and then build the relationship on the back end. The relationship will come. Okay. Because you've solved their problem. Now that's out of the way and off their deck. They are able to work with you a little bit more, to build that relationship, establish that rapport, and it just helps you serve a customer better. Okay. So it's an important distinction to know the difference. Okay. What makes your solution special? What makes your solution different than others out there? This too should be something you solve in advance. This should be something This is unique selling proposition. This is market dominating position. Everybody, you just thought you'd never see these terms again, right? And nobody else was talking about them. Well, here you go. If you are solving a problem that like nobody else can, you will get that business. You need to make sure they know you can solve that problem with a solution right away that completely meets their needs, and they will buy from you first and then work to establish the relationship. You see how this fits together? So this is a common sales question on its face, that you're going to have to solve before you even start, but because you're going to have to know your competition, you're going to have to know how you stand out, and you're going to have to know how you do better. But if knowing that, and knowing the specific people that this is aimed at, and knowing that you have the best and hopefully only solution for them, will get you win after win after win in the sales world. So this is, of course, the solution they want but don't have. How will you provide that solution they want but they don't have? Okay. So you see how this begins to kind of make sense a little bit. Okay. At least I hope anyway. But knowing your audience is every salesperson will tell you is absolutely key. Anybody who doesn't tell you that, you probably don't want to sell for, because it's just mass whatever. And they may have short-term success, but long-term they're not going to last. Okay? Take a little extra time and do it right. And then whenever you're ready to sell somebody, your sales are that much more impactful and they're more successful. You will get more sales out of doing it the right way and taking the time to learn your audience and actually respond to it. Actually take it to heart and make it special, right? Okay, let's talk about when to pitch, when to do this. So when to have your thing ready, and some aspects about it, okay? So know when to be direct and to the point. I will tell you that's most of the time. In case you didn't know. How many of you have received or sent the inappropriate, "Hi, how are you? How's it going? I hope everything is well with you." Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, get to the point. Because, well, we'll just get into this as we go on, because I have some soapbox points to make, but I hope they benefit you instead of just griping at people. I hope they work for your better. Okay. So one of them here is, pitch with as few words as possible. Okay. There's an adage in Christian evangelism. Okay. And maybe other places too, but this is where I come in contact with it. It says, preach the gospel, it says something like preach the gospel when necessary, and ask the Holy Spirit to help you figure out when to use words. Okay. Preach the gospel when necessary and be able to discern when you should actually use words. Now, what does that mean? Because that applies to many things, whether you're a believer or not, that's okay. This applies to so many things. If you're really into and representing the product you sell, and you're representing what it does, and it, then use as few words as possible. People don't need the sales fluff. They need direct to the point most of the time. Again, if you're doing a solution and you're building the relation, you'll build the relationship afterwards. If the relationship is more important, still use as few words as possible to build it up and to represent who you are before making that offer. But the fewer words you use, the more genuine you appear when you're doing all of this. And hopefully you are genuine doing all this. But if you're not, there's people can sell things to anybody, I guess. But the fewer words you use, the better off you're going to be. Okay. So the next thing, this is be the type of person you would like to sell to you. So think about that before you even start. What type of person, if they came along, no matter what they said or did, would just about buy anything they had. Okay? Be whatever it is that they're trying to convince you of or sell you of or anything. Think about that type of person and become that type of person. Now, your personality is different than other people's. I get it. But you have to sort of synchronize that. This is about style. Okay. So, and reconcile that with your sales approach. Okay. Reconcile that with your sales approach. So take that in the salesperson you would want selling you, and merge that with the idea of what it is that you're selling and the approach that you need to use to sell it. And you'll come up with a dynamite formula that will basically be, you talk about a client avatar of ideal people you're selling to. You become that person who is the right kind of salesperson for that group. And provided that's close to what you are, reasonably close, where you don't have to fake it too much. And then you start you start then applying, I don't know what, there's a weird noise here, but you start applying that logic to create not only the perfect avatar, but the perfect salesperson. And when those meet up together with a market dominating position, it gets really fun and is easy to do, and it just works, and you have major success. So be the type of person you want to sell to. Okay. All right. So a couple of other things here. Get to a yes. Sorry, I'm looking at notes, guys. You know how I roll at this point if you've been following this channel. Get to a yes or no as quickly as possible. Okay. Get to a yes or no, is most salespeople will tell you that. That's why they ask questions that are designed to solicit a response. They want you, if a good salesperson, this is not new, but if you've looked at this at any length of time, you see they ask you questions. They want you to get to yes or no. They don't want to beat around the bush. I don't want to wait on my wife or my spouse or my whatever else to help make that decision. I have question. Having questions is okay. Having questions is encouraged, in fact, because if a prospect is asking you questions, that means they're actually paying attention. If they're asking worthwhile questions, especially, that means that they're paying attention. They're actually relevant to what you're doing and what you've told them. You want that. That's totally awesome. But after that, answer the question as quickly as possible, using as few words as possible. And then you get them back to now are you ready to get started? Shall we get going with this? What shall we do to make this happen for you? I'm ready here's the next step. Are you ready to do that? Get to yes or no as fast as reasonably possible, keeping in mind what type of relationship you're cultivating, what kind of situation you're cultivating here. Are you there to provide the solution and answer that speed that cycle up even faster? Are you building a little bit of relationship, showing value, answering questions, but then ultimately getting them back to the yes or no question? Are you ready to get started, or something like that? Okay. And a final one. This makes complete sense. But still, most people have to learn it. Know when to stop selling. Okay. That's important, especially in the solution versus relationship thing. Know when to stop selling. I learned this as a junior person. I was back being an IT person at a maintenance and reliability consulting company, or I was the IT person. I was the IT department, and I was pitching them on something. And this was a situation I came across then, and then I came across a little bit later. I guess I had to have it a couple of times until I learned, is that I was leading a presentation and selling people on the value of something. And what I didn't realize or wasn't paying attention to, I was so busy selling the value and what was there, and here's the plan, and here's what we're going to do, that a yes snuck in there. Okay, this is great. Yes, I like this. Let's move forward. Snuck in there. And finally, embarrassingly, one of the senior people in the room, who I was not, had to stop me and say, John, you heard yes. Stop selling. It was wholly embarrassing, but it was a valuable lesson. So learn when to stop selling. Learn when they say yes to shut up. Okay, because you will only do damage to your potential situation after that if you keep going. So learn when that is. But this is, again, framing the relationship. Okay. If you're framing this correctly, if you've done your homework, if you really researched your customers and know your product and know why it's different, the point that they even remotely say something resembling yes, you shut up and turn and say, oh, this is fantastic. Oh, thank you. Let's get started. And then be done. You don't have to sell them anymore. You're going to hurt yourself, not literally, but you'll hurt your chances of success the more you continue after somebody says yes. So learn what yes sounds like, and in multiple ways of what yes sounds like. And then go from there and learn to get them to that point and to move them along. Those of you who are seasoned salespeople know these lessons all too well, right? So I'm not telling you anything new. But what I am telling you in that may or may not be as explored is the concept of nuance and how to frame the prospect. Again, do they want that solution right away, or do they want that relationship right away? Both are okay if you learn when to use them. Both can be appropriate. Particularly the more you spend, the more they tend. The more you're asking them to spend, the more they're going to want a relationship out of it in general, but not always. Then it's important to have that out there right away. So and to get them to that yes or no. So all these are great wisdom, I hope, anyway. There are certainly ones that have affected me over time. I didn't come up with them. I am talking about the whole idea of the relationship, because there's some things that I'm seeing that are going to come up in the next section here that are people are forgetting this. This is tried and true wisdom right here, but some people are forgetting this. Okay, and it's starting to be a problem, particularly in the online world. It's starting to be something that is not helpful. It will backfire on you. It will piss some people off, and it will result in, yet another reason against business and mostly marketing folks that could be a problem, and salespeople. It won't do anything to dispel those stereotypes. Okay. All right. So let's talk about when not to pitch. Okay. And there's only 3 of these, but they are, I hope they are important. They are important to me. I hope they are important to you. Okay. All right. So it is not time to pitch when, like we've talked about, when it's more important to build the relationship. If you have taken the time to figure out that a relationship is more important to these people for any number of reasons, if you pitch them on the thing right away, they're gonna see you as the slick salesperson, as the used car salesman. Nobody wants that. Even used car people don't want to be a used car salesman. You notice so many of the car dealerships, at least in the United States, have so altered the way that they do things, that their approach this has taken a while. But even they don't do that anymore. It is consultative. It is not super commission hustle, or if it is, it's very well disguised. And it may be, but it's still very well disguised. So they take more of a consultative sales approach with you, and they work you through that process. And so it has changed over time how their approach to selling people. Particularly, as economies change and that sort of thing. So know when to use the correct, situation. Know when to provide that. But by the same token, if somebody is a relationship, not a relationship person, they just, they just want an answer. They want to know what the offer is. Then, they're moving right along, and you're still building the relationship. I see this on LinkedIn all the time. And in fairness, this is some of the training that I had from LinkedIn to how to prospect talks about that. And LinkedIn feels the relationship is very important. Okay. Rightfully so. But not all, if you're the wrong type of service doing that, it's going to come off as fake. It's going to come off as again, it's a sort of a different tactic to the used car salesman, because it's just going to come off. They're just sitting there waiting around for you to finally get to the point of why you reached out to them. They really, really will. Second way to know when not to pitch, okay, is on the weekends or off hours. If you have looked at and researched your audience and you know where in the world they are, do not call them or contact them in any way on the weekends, regardless of whether or not you think it's a weekend or not. Okay. If you know your audience, you're going to know what their weekend is. If you know your audience, you're going to know generally when they work, when they will be available, when they're actually doing things. If they're actually working on Sundays, maybe you're reaching out to a church. Okay, cool. No problem. Reach out then. But generally, we're wired to be, the weekdays are work days and the weekends are not, even if you're working. We're just wired that way in the West here. We just are. So doing that, and also there is no meaningful conversation I'm going to have with you on any level at 10 o'clock at night, my time. For those of you who like to message on Facebook and you know who you are. Okay. There is no conversation that we're going to have that's meaningful for anybody at that time of night. Okay. We don't need special friends. We don't need, it's about business. Make it about business and do it during business hours. I'm sorry if that's not your time zone, but if you need to learn this and somebody needs to tell you, for a sales success point of view, that you need to figure out ways to overcome that. Okay. There are people that I know that are, generally 6 hours ahead of me and what I do. That's fine. That's that, people are in the world. They're in different time zones. Mine's, not any different. But they figure out ways to make it work, or they compensate somehow. Maybe they have people that are more local to, say, North America, and the time zones involved, or they have time zone restrictions on who they call and who they don't, or they just suck it up and say, okay, I know for me, there's a group for example, there's a group I used to work with from India, still friends with several of them. And they were sort of an add-on, a very important add-on to what we did. They were not the core company, but they ran a lot of behind the scenes operationally for what was there. But their time zone they were 12 hours difference, as those of you in India know who are watching this. So that was but they were the ones who sold, okay, we're going to work with United States companies. And to do that, that means our work shift has to be completely reversed. So we're up till, from 7, 8 p.m. and they ran kind of Eastern time to about 4 a.m. India time, local time, to match our 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time here in the United States. So they were synchronized to that, and that's just the way it's sold. And as far as I know, they're still operating for a different company. They just kind of switched gears, as did I. And so so they're off on their way, but I still keep in contact with them from time to time they made that choice, that sales choice, to do, as many of people in those countries who want to work with, say, the United States or even Europe to some extent, have to decide to do. So you make allowances for that, but this still goes back to understanding your audience. Okay. And when they're actually working, there's also a school of thought in sales. I'm just going to address this real quick. That says, and it's a good tactic. It can be a good tactic if used properly. That to call a business early in the morning, and by early I mean, say they open at 9 a.m., call them about 7:30 or 8 a.m. Because sometimes a lot of times get voicemail, but sometimes you will get, particularly in smaller businesses, the owner working there, or somebody that's very high up that just happens to be the only one there and answers the phone. It's a sneaky and great way to get past gatekeepers. And I'm here to tell you, most of the salespeople know it. This is not new knowledge, but it can be effective depending on what you're offering and your approach and how you're doing it. It can be very effective. So it's not unethical. It's smart. You just have to be very, very careful with it. That does not mean 3 a.m. That does not mean 9 p.m. at night. Even if you're working late, does not mean that. Unless you specifically know there's a shift issue then, and that's when when you're calling them, what time it is where they are versus what time it is where you are. So please keep that in mind whenever you're prospecting for people. There's no and for those of you who've tried it, I'm kind of cross that way on the weekends, because I know the pitch is coming. I'm surprised I even answer it on the weekends, and sometimes I don't. And I'm learning. I'm being very quickly conditioned not to answer it on the weekends, because there's just no good going to come of that conversation. I'm sorry, there's not. Find me if you really want my business. Find me at the times that I'm available, and I will do the same for you. Because if we're really doing our homework and we're really understanding who our audience is, then that's doing them a courtesy. Final point here on when not to pitch somebody. So this is going to sound really weird, but do not pitch them if your target prospect is not in business or marketing. Now, let me explain what that double negative sounding thing, poorly written thing means. It is, I confess. New school of thinking from one of my newer mentors, but a good one nonetheless, named Adam Flores, and others, that are out there. Those of you in the Facebook group, in the Boost Success Facebook group, saw me advertising things about doing webinars. That's with Adam. And there's other opportunities out there for him to do what he does, but it's pretty unique. But he talks about some of the prospecting time, some of the wisdom that we have here when you're reaching out to people, is that people in present thinking is when business and people in business and marketing just want a solution. They don't want a relationship. You all, I mean, think about yourselves as you watch this. Do you have a BS detector? And you know what BS stands for in English, right? Do you have one of those? Do you know the pitch is coming? Do you know, and yet somebody's trying to make pleasantries with you? You just, how often are you thinking, just get to the point of why you're here? Don't be rude about it. Just get to the point. I just want to know what you're selling. And then there's a secondary school of thought there that says, I'm either going to buy it or I'm not. And if I'm not, that's okay. There could be any number of reasons that you don't know why I'm not going to buy it. So you have to be okay with that. If you start, fighting it, oh, what about this? What about this? You sound desperate, and nobody wants desperate. Nobody wants a desperate salesperson. Okay. It's not going to go well for anybody. So if you can approach with confidence, you've done your homework, you've done everything else, but you go directly and skillfully to the pitch, they will then understand where you're coming from. Then if you want to build a relationship after that, you build a relationship after that. Okay. YouTube person is a good example. He's from Bangladesh. And so we started out with the pitch. Actually was referred, but started out with a pitch in general, otherwise, and then have built a relationship afterwards, trying to understand each other's country, what's going on. There's been crazy things happening in Bangladesh recently. Just different things. And so we build a relationship afterwards. Perfect opportunity for that. But the pitch was first, and that's okay. The same goes, if your customer wants a relationship, you work on that relationship first. And by the way, if you're going to do that, if you're going to pick something, to highlight about somebody, it can be a great tactic but try to find something unconventional about them. Something that shows, I didn't just read the first statement of what you offer and try to extrapolate something from that. Look to an accomplishment they've done. Look to something that they published that you read that you thought was really good. Those are the types of genuine things that get you in the door in a relationship. They can make a difference. LinkedIn, that can be important. Higher ticket items, that can be important, but be genuine about what you're I know it takes a little longer. It's hard for sometimes the VA to work through that, but it's time well spent. Coach them on how to do it. Okay. Because if you can dig a little deeper into somebody's, what you have access to about a company or a person or whatever, it is time well spent. And that will get you further in the door, because then it shows you actually paid attention. It's like, I'll give you a basic example of, I'm in Houston, Texas, right? And so somebody from, looking at Texas, oh yeah, I once visited El Paso. Okay. So that's closer to Los Angeles than it is to me. That is literally the other side of the state. It's a very different culture. It's nothing to do with me. There's a social sin of lumping Houston, Texas people and Dallas, Texas people into the same group. We tolerate each other, but we're rivals in every other way that matters. So Houston people are not Dallas people. Dallas people are not Houston people. And that's not always picked up on by people. We used to come across, working in New York and New Jersey, and visiting there that everybody thought in Texas we all rode a horse to school and as a kid, and we had Cadillacs with the big horns, the big longhorns on them. Well, no, there's some of that out here, I guess, but there is on Yellowstone as well, and that's in Wyoming. So if you ever watched that show. So there's stereotypes you just really want to avoid in building that relationship, but there are times it can really work. So I'm going around to the same things. I'm going around to things that are, appropriate and important here, because this is so know when to use which relationship and which approach. Okay. For business, and the wisdom is business and marketing people prefer a much more direct approach. Everybody else, it just depends. Okay. Some of them, maybe you want to build a relationship, some of them don't. But in business to business people and digital and marketing, when you're pitching to marketing people and advertising people, they've used all the tactics you're about to use on them. This is nothing new. If they're worth anything, their BS meter is over their head. They can spot fake a mile away. Okay, don't do yourself a favor that if you want to get in with those people, find ways to cut through that and to acknowledge that, to say, hey, look, I'm just gonna. And I've seen some in I'm soapboxing a little, but I've started to see some people doing this. Hey, I'll just get right to the point. Okay, I can respect that. This is what I offer. Do you need it or do you not? Well, I don't need it this time. Okay, done. Good. I mean, it's not a sale for them. It's not good in that respect, but at least everybody understands each other. And so at some point, maybe if they somehow left an impression on me or realize that I'm looking, then they will they'll get that opportunity, to come back and get that chance again to do something about it. So yeah, that's the way this operates. And so I hope this makes some sense. If you're in business and marketing, if you're pitching business and marketing people, get right to the point. Call them at a reasonable hour. If you want to call them a little early, maybe you have some luck, maybe you won't. And understand that most of them will want what you're selling first, build the relationship later, and you've done that homework to be exactly the solution they didn't know they needed at the time, because they actually need it. They just need to realize that they need it. So I hope that makes some sense. I hope this wasn't too soapboxy and gives you lots of ways to approach sales, particularly for people who aren't very good at it or just starting at it, that might move the needle in some really, really nice ways as you get things started out and you start to build those cold call relationships, and you start to turn them into something more. So speaking of pitches, I get to make mine now, so I'll keep it short and sweet. All right. So I've been building the relationship for a while, just to use my own language. So I hope I get the opportunity here to at least throw this at you and see if it makes any difference depending on who you are. For most businesses, we aim to double their profit in 90 days, and we do that through a number of business and marketing optimization means. Okay, so these are strategies we work with you on, and these are strategies that we try to take that time. We want you to be at the proper place, that you're ready for this, that you're ready for something different, that what you're doing isn't working. If you're an agency, speaking of things that aren't working, maybe you have some clients that you really wish had better results. You have the marketing covered, you have successful things going, but maybe we can bring some business alongside that. And we work together on your 10 worst performing clients to double their profit, or at the very least, turn them into rock stars in 90 days. We do all this with something we call a success blueprint. A success blueprint is a series of questions and answers, and then we ask those, and we get those from the client, and we give them a graph right away. They're getting to see these charts, and these things build on each other as we start talking to them, introducing these strategies to them, like the market dominating position, like a compelling offer that we talk about all the time here. In ways that, and then we get to show them what that impact could look like if they did it that way. and we do number calculations. And so it makes it really fun and really real for them as to how much profit they could realize. And then we set about doing that. We can do a whole bunch of good in about 6 months, but that's not very sexy. So we at least we are confident we can double the profit in 90 days, and then hopefully add a whole lot more value from there. This is generally how it works. These are the different impacts that we have. Maybe they're foundations, or more leads, or more conversions, or more transactions, or just more profits with what you already have. So these are the types of strategies and the lists of strategies that we use, and the method in which we go about it. This is our general process. We start with, if this is intriguing to you at all, any of this, then consider one of two actions, because these first few of them are free over here. Let's do a business breakthrough strategy session together. Let's talk about that 1090 agency client turnaround that we have. There are different ways to come about that, but let's talk about those for about 20 minutes and see if we're a fit to work together. See if we're in the place that we're ready to make something good happen. Then, if you would like, or if you want to involve your clients, if you're an agency, or if you're ready to go with this, we do that basic success blueprint or digital success blueprint, which is for online businesses only. This other one is for pretty much everybody else. Slightly different strategies, but the same approaches to all. So we can do both of those for you, and we can figure that out. That's all free. Takes an hour of your time at the most, and then we give you a report that is yours to keep, regardless of whether or not you work with us or not. And then we set about spending the time in our ProfitWorks systems to hopefully make those strategies happen. ProfitWorks, as it is a full one-on-one coaching experience. We have a group one coming soon that you benefit from the group. But whether it's a group or whether this is a standalone, a lot of what gets powered here is a kind of a step down, but it has some really cool different uses that not everybody's talking about, is our ProfitWorks Jumpstart. The ProfitWorks system is an hour a week of your time. That is the full experience, one-on-one coaching. You do work, we do work. The ProfitWorks Jumpstart is unlimited 15-minute sessions. You can either do a 90-day accelerator version, or we can do like a 6-month sort of on-call and we can do strategies for you. We can go through the strategies that we have that you saw on this page, or we can just be a sounding board. We can work on things independently. If you kind of have your own way that you want to go, or you already have some things in place, we can help you optimize them so they perform the absolute best they can. And along the way, if you need background, that's where the Success Academy down here comes in. That's something we can add as an add-on service. It's DIY virtual MBA level training. It's very in-depth, but it can be a backstop resource. So you don't have to feel like an idiot because you don't know something. You can go in there and you can learn more about it than you ever wanted to know about what we're doing and why we're doing it, or have somebody else say it in a different way. So it's tremendous value in having this alongside what we do. But ultimately, we're working together with you side by side to make this happen. But you got to be in the place that you're ready to do that. All right, that's all I know. I hope this has been helpful for you budding salespeople out there. Maybe some feedback either way, maybe from experienced salespeople. Jump in here and let me know how well this resonated with you or not. But if you're ready to move forward with any of this, then book your business breakthrough strategy session with me, and let's talk about what that can look like for you to make that all happen for you. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you watching. You can comment wherever you're watching this, and hope to see you very soon on a business breakthrough strategy call, or even better, the Success Blueprint, because I wanted to show you what this looks like for your business. All the other generic results in the world don't matter. It's what it looks like for your business. So thanks so much for watching, and we will talk to you soon. Lisa.